DIY friends, have you ever thought to yourself, could a chair be so much more than just a chair? Well, I'm about to show you that it can. And I just thrifted this for $10 and we're about to funk it up. So let's go funk it up. Boop. This video contains an ad for Incogni. Okay friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's DIY in progress it's being built around chaos.
Professional chaos.
So I've kind of had to set up a mini workshop, kind of like a makeshift workshop, because my garage is currently under construction, but you can see drywall is going up, so good things are happening behind the scenes, but it's not done yet. Okay, but we're not here to talk about the garage, let's talk about the chair. So what are we turning the chair into? Well, Vanessa came to me, we all know Vanessa, came to me and said, listen, I have a record player in my home. The stand that it currently sits on is falling apart. I want something new. I want something secondhand because I don't have a lot of money, but could you make me some kind of solution? And I said, you know what? Challenge accepted. So we went off to the thrift store. We went looking for a solution. Honestly, I walked in looking for a box of some sort, and then I found this. This lovely chair, and I told Vanessa, I found your solution and it's right here. And she looked at me and said, you might want to sit on it. No, she looked at me like I was crazy, and I said, listen, no, you got to see past the chair, because this has so much potential, because once you remove the cushions, suddenly we're left with like a frame, just a metal frame with so much opportunity, and you just got to trust the magic, trust the process. And she said, okay, I'm going to trust you to make this happen. And I said, great. Before I kind of get into the plan of what I want to do with this, I want to take this apart. I want to look at it. What are we dealing with? And then we can talk about the plan. So let's go take this chair apart. Pretty cool if I do say so myself. We finally have our frame. Honestly, it's a little weird because the back side is higher than the front side. We got some weird shapes going. I can't tell. Does the back, I think the back sits lower. Let me check. Okay, so once I add another section to the back, which is totally possible, like I can add a bar underneath the box on the back so that at least it's flush, which it looks like that is what we're gonna have to do. Well, that's good to know. Great, that's fine. That is totally fixable. So I've been playing around with a couple options. I want the record player to be able to sit on top of the box that's gonna sit in here, but I kind of was thinking we have opportunity to have a space here, and we also have opportunity to have space here, because this frame actually has a ton of holes on the bottom of it. So we have options to be able to drill down and up. So I was thinking, okay, like what if we have some kind of drawer system that sits on the top, and then we have kind of like, maybe this is where the records are kept. So I have a record here, and you know, based on the size of a record, which is normally about like a foot by a foot, it might be a little tight, especially if we're using like a 3/4 inch plywood. Like, is it gonna look weird if we have the box go all the way to the bottom of the foot? Or is it maybe better to have the box up here with all the little dividers for all the records, and maybe like a little cubby down here for something? What I want to do is I've kind of figured out the sizing I want for each of the boxes, so I'm gonna make it out of cardboard. And I do this because it like helps me play and visualize what I want to do without having to cut into any wood. It's kind of a risk-free way of just testing, because I'm such a visual person, like I need to see it. So I'm gonna start ripping up some cardboard, and then we'll see what we're working with. Friends, I so recommend doing this for anyone who may be second guessing how something looks, or maybe you're not sure if you like the size. Make a cardboard version of it first. If you're a visual person like me, this is so helpful, and although this may feel like a big waste of time, this inexpensive step has helped me save so much money in material costs because I was able to find any silly design flaws that I didn't see coming. Do this with cardboard or do it with foam board. It's a small cost that can really help see the vision. And it was a good thing I did this because I did find a flaw, a big one. I'm actually really glad I did this. What I discovered by building it with the cardboard is that if I had wanted to make the box on the bottom and fit this, I'm gonna have to compensate for the fact that the back is lower, and I made this way too big. Even if I was to shorten this, because even if like a 12, I wanted to give like enough space just in case if there was like a big record, or, you know, because they do vary in size. But like if I make this, I think I made this 14. So maybe if I made it 13, we'd end up losing about an inch, but I still think it might look weird. I'm kind of thinking if we put this part on the top, and then I kind of saw this little cubby going down here, and then we let this float underneath. Like so, and then compensate in the back for its unevenness, or I guess maybe we have to compensate in the front for the unevenness, or maybe I make the box slightly smaller, shorter at the back, which honestly, that's a whole other thing of geometry that I don't want to do. But all that to say, I think it makes more sense. Or we lose the box and we just go with the box that sits on here. Add this in the back so it sits flush. There we go. This is what it would look like from a side profile. Possible maybe I make the inside piece sit up so you don't even see it. Because if I do it on the frame, then you're gonna see that. But if I put it a little piece on the inside, potentially, oof, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna have to make the back slightly higher and cut these in a weird shape. That was not a part of the plan. I think we still build the box. I think having storage versus no storage is better. I think we can still put the player on top. We still have our records to go inside. And it's kind of cool because it's gonna like float in the middle between the legs. The question is, do we trapezoid or do we not trapezoid? More importantly, do we isosceles trapezoid? Yeah, so I had to do some brain math. If I wanted my boxes to sit flush on the frame, but also be level, I was going to need each box to be an isosceles trapezoid, which I was not expecting to compensate for in this project. Even worse, the bottom box had to be longer in the front, while the top box had to be longer in the back. And on top of that, I had to map out the cuts on my plywood sheet so that the wood grain pattern was always flowing in the correct direction, or this box just wasn't going to look nice. I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a puzzle. My brain! My brain! Okay, I've got it. I wanted this record player to look super slick, so I bought a sheet of walnut plywood, which was pretty pricey, but I knew it would be so worth it in the end. Now to make my cuts, I was using my handy plunge saw, which allowed me to easily cut my plywood sheets into all the necessary sizes. All the sides were cut at a 45-degree angle because I wanted my box corners to be mitered. I think it looks much more professional this way, and luckily my plunge saw made this super easy to accomplish in one go. Some of the pieces did take a few tweaks to work out the proper level proportions, but eventually I did get into a flow. I had 9 pieces in total to cut, and I'd worked out that the smaller box that would sit on the bottom had a height difference of 1 1/8 from the front to back, and the larger record holding box had a compensation of 1 1/4. Super tricky. And yes, of course they did not match. So I would cut them into square rectangles first, then I would cut them into their trapezoid shapes from there. I'm not gonna lie, that was some intense math. I think my brain's broken. But I think it worked out, but it took longer than I was expecting. But at least they're all done. The only things that I didn't do, I decided not to put a back on the cubby that's gonna hold the records. And I've been going back and forth of whether or not I wanna do a drawer. I think I wanna build that box first and then decide if I wanna do a drawer, because I kinda wanna see what it looks like first. Like, it might look too chunky if we close it off. It might be nice to kinda have an open cubby. For the armrests, I bought myself an actual piece of walnut, so it wasn't overly expensive. I wanna recreate these guys on here. Now, this is a rough board, so I am gonna have to plane this to finish it, and then basically just cut it to size. And then we have a nice clean piece that's gonna sit on the sides as like a fun detail to hide the top of the metal. I kinda like keeping it. It kinda keeps an ode to the old chair. So yeah, but I think we can do this tomorrow. I'll see you then. Good morning, friends. I have been spending all morning just trying to clean this space up and kind of make it a more safe workspace. There was just like stuff all over the ground and drywall and like drywall pieces, and I was like, I keep tripping over them, and I'm like, this is not a safe place to work right now. But much like I want my own space to be safe, I also want my personal information online to be safe, which is why I'm thankful for the sponsor of today's episode, Incogni. Do you guys like that segue? You know, in this digital age, so much of our information ends up floating around the internet on people's search sites, online directories, commercial databases, and even sites you've never heard of. The more places your info lives, the easier it is for scammers, identity thieves, and even AI scam attempts to find it and use it. But here's the good news. With Incogni, you can take yourself off the map. Their service tracks down and removes your personal data from hundreds of websites automatically. And they don't just stop at data brokers. If your info pops up again, they'll go back and remove it for you. They've also got a custom removal feature where you can send in specific links exposing your data, things like news portals, sports publications, or health apps, and a dedicated privacy expert will handle the takedown for you. They're like real-day superheroes in the AI form. Getting started is super simple. Create your account and share the bare minimum of info that they need to find you online. You authorize them to act on your behalf, and then kick back and let them wipe your data from the web. The best part, you can try Incogni risk-free for 30 days and get a full refund if you're not happy with the results. So if you ever wanted to clean up your online footprint and make yourself harder to find, now is the time. Use the link in my description box and use the code DIY Danie to get an exclusive 60% off the annual plan. We have to protect ourselves in the digital age, my friends, so let's stay safe online and in the workshop. All right, let's get into this build. So we need to secure this box together. I have built myself some 90-degree angles so that I can clamp if I need them. Not quite sure yet, but we are gonna use a tape glue and we're just gonna nail this. I know. I would have loved to have been able to create some kind of like, you know, cool joinery for this. But one, I don't own a domino machine. Two, I have no idea where my dowel jig is. And three, today doesn't feel like the day I want to teach myself a new joinery technique on my table saw. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to take our mental health down a notch, and we're just going to put this together with a little tape, a little glue, and some brad nails and call it a day. Huzzah. Okay, let's put this box together. So today was about getting my boxes glued up. Like I said, I wasn't complicating this box build with joinery. We were just adding some wood glue and tacking it with nails. Of course, there are a million better ways to join this box together, but I really wasn't in the mood to complicate it. This way works, and we can get fancy when my shop is finally organized and finished. So one side went together great, but it was when I went to put on the second side that I realized I made a small error in the geometry of my cut, and it did take me a while to figure out what that error was. Oh no, did I end up cutting this the wrong way? Oh, because if I want, wait, no, did I cut this the wrong way? Oh shoot, I think I did. No, yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah, my dyslexic brain was on fire, friends. Because mathematically, this board was not cut wrong per se, but it kind of was. Okay, so my brain just melted, but I'm back to reality again. I realized what I did wrong. So I was like, what is going on? Because the box size was the right size, it was the right dimensions, but I ended up cutting the piece that goes inward, that tapers in on the wrong side, because in order for this to be square, now there's a gap in this back end, which isn't fitting, but it's that same amount is over on this side. Does that make sense? So basically I accidentally cut this the wrong way, because in order for it to go straight, it needs to go back that way. It's sort of right, but like it wasn't. It was like cut in the upside down. And now I need to cut it back on Earth. I think my brain lives in the other dimension. That's the problem. Yep, so after that silly fix, the box came together pretty easily, all things considered. It will need a good sanding and a bit of cleanup, but I think it's gonna look pretty snazzy. All right, let's move on to the next box. And here's hoping I don't have to recut any pieces. Heavy beast, but like up. These do need to be cleaned up a little bit, but I am happy with the way that this looks. So let's get this edge bands. Once they're edge bands, we're gonna move on to building the pieces on the side here with the actual walnut, and then we're gonna be in good shape. We can clean these up, get a finish on them, and I just have to figure out how I'm gonna create our little dividers here. I have an idea, but I'm still mulling it over before I talk about it. So I'm gonna wait to talk about it, but let's see how it goes. I think this looks great. I'm happy with these. What I wanna do is get all the edges edge band. I need to do the front and back, and then the front of this, and then we're gonna start on our actual walnut piece. I don't know about you, but edge banding is probably my least favorite job. To do it well, you need to take it slow. I like to line up one edge, and then using my edge band trimmer, I remove the excess. Although if you don't have an edge band trimmer like me, you can just use a box cutter, that works too. And hey, you know what? Look at me go. 2 videos in a row where I'm using a clothing iron to get a DIY project done. Although I can say I much prefer this type of project. Now, edge banding did take quite a long time, but eventually I did finish, and I was moving on to prepping my walnut. Oh, I guess it's beep, 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 beep. Slivers! That's what my band would be called, the Slivers. Okay, friends, I'm not gonna lie, edge banding took like 3.5 hours. I don't know why it took me so long, but I absolutely despise the activity. I also got a little itty bitty restless, and I just wanted to see how the coloring of the edge banding was gonna work with the wood. And then I was like, well, maybe we can just color up the arms that I just cut. Look how beautiful this looks with the oil. So the oil that I put on here is the Rubio Monocoat. This is just the oil, doesn't have a hardener in it. First of all, it smells amazing, but it just makes it look so good. And I was curious to see how it would match on here, and honestly, it's not too bad. I want to oil these two up because I'm just curious to see how the color goes. You'd be surprised, a little bit goes a long way. Literally, that's all I'm putting on there right now. And this will probably do the whole side. Ooh, that looks really pretty. Yeah, that looks great. Ooh, that's gonna look so good. Okay, I'm gonna get these oiled properly, but look how beautiful that is. Ooh, gorgeous. Really happy with the way that the oil makes it look. It's kind of rejuvenated me in terms of how I feel, but also, do we not feel like this looks like a robot? Doesn't this feel like a little robot? I kind of wish now that I had created a robot, to be honest. I think that would have been so fun. But this is going down here. So sadly, the robot will be kind of clunky. It's gonna look like the trash can compactor from Star Wars. But anyways, it's not gonna be a robot. It's gonna be a record player holder. Good morning, friends. Another day in the workshop, another loud day of construction. But last night I was able to get a full coat on this guy, and oh, does it look beautiful. Like, look at how pretty you are. Just stunning. Very happy with that. But I held off on doing a layer on this because we need to work with that box today, and like I knew it wasn't gonna be fully dry, so I was like, you know what, let's just wait and we'll do it last. But I am very excited to see how that turned out. Like, it's like, oh, so pretty. But before we actually start mucking, well, with this guy, we need to talk about the frame. It's a little bit dirty, like I can show you guys. It's got some yucky stuff, it's got some dirt in the corners, you know, like we need to clean it up. It's seen some stuff. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get all of the rust off of it, but I can sure try. So I went and I found actually a new product. I've never used this before. It's a spray foam bar keeper's friend. So I'm kind of excited to try this, but I'm like, maybe it's too heavy duty. So I did bring my old tried and true. I got some Easy Off. I figured that might also help clean up the stainless steel, but then I also had the original bar keeper's friend. So we have 3 products to use. So we're gonna Goldilocks this situation and see which one works best. But yeah, I wanna get this cleaned up first. Once it's clean, then we can bring this up to the studio and we can actually do everything we wanna do up in the studio so we don't have to spend more time in this dingy workshop. Soon, friends. I did eventually make it to the studio with my now sparkly clean frame, and the first order of business was attaching the new armrest, and this did require a bit of finessing. In order to secure it in place, I had to pre-drill into my walnut first, then add a screw, which seemed to do the trick. I did this in 3 places for each arm. Once I was happy with the position of the top box on the frame, I marked the location of the drill holes on the bottom. Now, to attach these 2 boxes, I was using a large 2.5-inch lag bolt with a nut and a small plastic washer. I then drilled small holes at these marks from the bottom so I could see them from the inside once flipped over. Then all I had to do was line up my 2 boxes together, use a drill bit the size of my lag bolt, and drill my holes. Now I made sure to clamp the boxes together and added cauls underneath so that A, my clamps wouldn't ruin the box, and B, I wanted something underneath the hole so that the drill bit wouldn't blow out of the plywood when it went through the other side. After I cleaned it up a little, I had Vanessa help me get the 2 boxes secured together because this was definitely a 2-man job. And just like that, we had a vision come to life. We did it!
High five!
And it's like, feels pretty sturdy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the table itself. Well, this chair needs a new foot on this. That's what I realized. What if we just put a chair pad under it? So people will stop thinking I built a wonky box, which is not true.
You're a wonky box.
It's the wonky donkey. Okay, it worked and it looks great. So we need to solve one last problem, which is the separators for the records. I was originally going to actually make wood pieces, but I decided against it because I thought it would be a cool look to use little tiny metal rods in 3 places to make 3 gaps,
Nice.
cubbies.
And that can match the frame.
Correct. To cut the rods, I was using my handy dandy cutoff tool, and I made each rod a 1/2 inch longer than the height of the inside of the box. The plan was to drill up into the top of the box by a 1/2 inch, then leave a small divot at the bottom mark that would just hold the bottom rods in place. For once, I was just happy that my plan was working, and before I knew it, we were starting to see this dainty little dividers come to life. The final step was to finally add my oil to the upper box, which is such a fulfilling step when you finally get to see that wood grain shine in all its glory. Oh, such a beautiful thing. And then all I had to do was put these 2 boxes back together, Humpty Dumpty style. Wow. 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 Well, there we have it, my DIY friends. We went from a $10 chrome and blue upholstered chair destined for the dump and turned it into a funky retro record player holder with storage. This DIY is totally unique and honestly might be one of the coolest upcycles I've ever done. Well, DIY friends, I think we got another cool red upcycle under our belt. I'm ecstatic at the way that this turned out. I think it's super cool. It's kind of fun and retro. It's got a little bit of an industrial vibe to it, but I just think it's exactly what I hoped it to be. Another cool way to rethink how an item can be used. But you guys should let me know, what did you think of this upcycle? Could you see yourself upcycling a chair into a retro record player holder? Comment down below and give this project a big thumbs up if you loved it. It does help this video so much. And subscribe if you're not already subscribed, because we got more cool, funk it up, DIY upcycles coming your way and you don't want to miss out. I think this is going to look pretty rad in Vanessa's space. Very excited for her. Oh, and big shout out to my Patreon crew, my DIY family. If you're looking for a place to share your DIY projects, your upcycles, and get cool ideas, then my Patreon is definitely the place for you. Come join, and hey, if you like my content but you want it early and ad-free, then definitely sign up is in the description box. Well, that's another upcycle under the belt, and we're just gonna enjoy some music today. So as always, my friends, stay positive, stay creative, and keep on DIYing. Bye-bye. Ooh, I like this one, it's blue. Check that out. Woo. Ooh, I bet you this one sounds cool. We gotta test it.